Hi there, I'm Danny and I'm a qualified integrative counsellor. And I just want to bring to your attention a type of therapy which I've trained in called brain spotting. It's quite a new therapy to the UK. It's heavily used in the US and it's starting to spread out into the UK now and in fact right across Europe. When I trained in it recently, I trained it with people from a lot of European countries and also people from the US. But anyway, I'm kind of here just to tell you in a nutshell a little bit about brain spotting. I'm going to put some other links up, and I've got something I've written in more in depth about it. But I kind of took the training in brain spotting because I thought that fitted very well into another type of therapy, which also I'll put some links up about, which you may have heard of, eye movement therapies. That groups several different types of therapy together, EMDR and EMI. All of these and the brain spotting, I believe, are quite similar. They all work on the concept that the mind and the body are very much interlinked. I believe that they're very much intertwined and can't really be separated. So as a result, we start to, if we feel anxiety, if we have traumatic events, and our body will react just as much as our mind. And often we'll end up feeling anxious because of our bodily responses. So the concept roughly is, in brain spotting, the eye movement therapies I've got on a separate video. In brain spotting, the concept is that if we kind of think about something, this is the easiest way I can describe it. We often look away from the person we're talking to and we gaze off for a moment. When we're really, people talk about it as like racking their brains. They'll might look up here. It's different for everyone. They might look down there. Those are concepts which you may, if you know about NLP, have been explored as well in NLP, neuralistic programming. So the concept is you'll kind of look over into a certain direction, but the thing about brain spotting is what we're working with something quite specific. We're actually working with traumatic memory, which really heavily plays out in the body and can also come out up as sometimes quite difficult to recognise a variety of unexplainable symptoms sometimes in the body. So that's not to say, because of course this often gets said, oh, it's all in your head. And it's not, because the body's reacting in a very powerful way quite often to an interplay between the mind and the body. So we're working with specific things like trauma, and we're also working with powerful messages that we may have followed through, powerful beliefs that we hold about ourselves, which are outdated and outmoded and we want to leave behind. So the first thing we'll do in a session is I tend to use it integratively, so I use it along with other counselling theory. But in the session, and I can do standalone sessions if it's required, but each person works differently. But what we'll do is we'll try to see what the belief is, what the memory is, what it is that's troubling you. And then we'll try to see if that feeling, it could be a feeling that goes with the event, could be the memory becomes more intense when you're looking in a certain area. So I'd obviously kind of guide you, and any other therapist would guide you on that, as to where that feeling, memory, belief might actually be accentuated a little bit and where it might be lower. And then we work with that. We actually allow you, if you like, to unfold that memory, whilst being really careful not to, obviously, we're doing it in a safe place. We can add on things like breathing techniques if needed to try and keep you feeling safe, visualization to keep you feeling safe, so that you can reprocess this memory, because traumatic memories are unprocessed memories. David Grant, who was the originator of this type of therapy, uh, talks about time capsules. In other words, many other theorists have talked about them in different ways, but there's something which can just be unlocked in that moment. And that's what it is with traumatic memory. It can be a trigger, it can be a backfiring motorcycle, it can be a revving engine, depending on what your trauma was, which takes you back to that very moment. And the memory can be just as colourful, just as alive, just as vivid. It can include sounds, it includes smells, it includes taste. So that memory, obviously, we have to be careful with, so that we take you back in a manageable way. But we let the mind start to revisit that memory, if needs be, very carefully. And we actually allow the body to respond in the way it needs to respond. Often with trauma, things can happen so quickly that the body never really had time to react to what happened in that given moment. As an example, if you were hit by a car, it could be in that instant before you were hit by the car, you went to move. And maybe, as an example, in Brainspotting, it could be that somebody actually acts that out. They'll actually start to make that movement, but for bodies actually start to make the movement it needed to move on from that moment of trauma. It could be that the feelings that are there when we kind of initially visit our memory, when you start to talk about it, it starts to rise and then start to dissipate. This may happen in one session, it may happen in several sessions. There may be bits to one event which kind of get revisited. So the point is to process these memories. Now there's quite a bit of information about the link between the mind and the brain. So the eyes and the mind, the eyes and the brain. And there's a lot of belief that the REM stage of sleep, the eye movement stage of sleep, which is where the eyes move rapidly, is part of the processing of memory. Tied into that, one other kind of key thing, which is the brain has several three different fundamental layers. It has the reasoning, thinking, memory area on top. Under that has a mammalian brain, which is often ends up being that and the brainstem are the main two things that function when we're in a high state of anxiety. The top bit gets toned down. Then below that we've got a brainstem, the bit which kind of looks after our basic survival of heart beating, breathing. So the bit underneath is contains several things. The alarm system, in fact, the amygdala, which tells us if there's trouble, gets our body ready for fight and flight. There's also the hippocampus, and the hippocampus is a bit which effectively is, in crude terms, date stamps our memories. Now, when the fight and flight bit the under bit of the brain, which is ready for action. This kicks in really in milliseconds when we have a fight for survival, when we feel really anxious, when we feel traumatized. As I said, it tones down all the reasoning, thinking bit of the brain. It also interferes with the hippocampus, the huge amounts of cortisol and adrenaline which are in our bloodstream, interfere with the date stamping of those memories. Once a memory's date stamped, it can effectively be filed away by the brain, which is believed to be part of that process of the flickering and of the eyes and the eye movement in the REM state of sleep. Sleep is meant to be very important for consolidating a memory. So, the rough bits of the jigsaw are, we kind of, in Brainspotting, we revisit memory, we see if there's any bodily responses that need to be played out. We, by revisiting traumatic memory, access that time capsule, if you like, and we allow it, rather than being a free flow and random memory which just gets triggered by the slightest response, which often happens in traumatic memory and in post-traumatic stress, we actually kind of, in a controlled manner, bring those contents out for examination. We allow them from the lower subconscious part of the brain into the reasoning, thinking part of the brain, which can start to make sense of what happened. Because often those thoughts are repressed, sometimes they can't even be remembered, sometimes they are fragmented and come out in bodily reactions or in vivid momentary memories. So that's roughly the principles behind Brainspotting. Please give me your feedback. It'd be interesting to hear what you kind of make of this. I hope I've explained it. I've done it unrehearsed. I've just kind of told you as it is, how I understand it, how I see it. If any of you are interested, I work in Norfolk and I also work on Skype. Please feel free to contact me and hope you enjoyed. Thanks. Bye.